Well, hello and welcome. I'm glad that you're here with us today as we continue our chronological read through of the Bible. The reading for day 122 of our journey is surprisingly brief. It's only three verses long to be exact. It's Psalm 133. It celebrates the unity and the fellowship of God's people who gather in His presence. Remember that all of Israel would come from far and wide to offer their sacrifices on Mount Zion. Remember also that anointing, as you read this, remember also that anointing with perfumed oil was a symbol of celebration and of rich blessing from God. There is no greater blessing than to be unified in God's presence, something that will finally happen when Jesus returns on the last day. We will all be unified in God's presence. Since that particular reading is so brief, we're going to go on to day 133 today as well. Psalm 106 is the first selection from day 123. It's the final psalm in book 4 of the Psalms. There's actually five books of psalms combined within that book that we call Psalms. The final verse will be a doxology, as it is with the final verse of each of those 5 books of the Psalms. Psalm 106 tells us the story of Israel. It focuses on how Israel forgot her covenant with God. We won't read it today, but Psalm 105 tells the same story with a focus on how God does not forget his covenant, even when Israel does. Psalm 106 talks about Israel forgetting the covenant. The psalm opens by giving thanks to God, who is good, whose mercy endures forever. Actually, you'll recognize that verse. The psalmist combines his personal faith with his prayer that God would remember his people and come to their aid. When the psalmist begins to catalog Israel's failures, they're not in chronological order. He goes through them in a different order. Israel rebelled at the Red Sea. And Israel rebelled again in the wilderness. Over and over again, she tested God to the point that God told Moses that he would destroy her. But Moses pleaded for Israel, and God relented. Israel would not enter the promised land. Or if you recall, she got there, sent the spies in, found the reports, and says, no, we can't do that. When she did, then finally 40 years later, enter the promised land, she ended up, co-opting with the gods and the detestable practices of the Canaanites. They were not completely put out as they were supposed to be. So God handed Israel over to other countries and rulers to punish her. She repented of her wicked ways, and she prayed that God would restore her. All of that history, shall we say, is in Psalm 106. Then Psalm 107 is our second psalm. It begins book 5, actually the final book of the Psalms. It continues the theme of Psalm 105 and 106, but it doesn't do so in it does so in a very general and non-historic way. It speaks of Israel wandering through the desert. It speaks of Israel being released from prison. It speaks of forgiveness after rebellion. It speaks of the danger of the sea. We're led through really 4 crises and then a series of curses and blessings. Curses on those who are wicked, blessings on those who obey God. In his mercy, God lifts the needy out of their affliction to the delight of the righteous, though the wicked are silent to see someone else prosper, in particular the needy who are being lifted up. The psalm ends with encouragement to heed the Lord and to wisely consider the great love of God. So those are the 3 psalms that we'll read today. I'll pray as always that your readings are a blessing to you, that you will learn, that you will grow. I look forward to gathering with you tomorrow.